the link?
Yep. Actually, I just did. Yep.
You just did. God, you're
Yeah.
way faster than me on that sort of thing.
So yeah, everybody, we're a little bit late, but that's okay. You know, that's kind of one of those things that it's a technical difficulty, and you know it happens. But
It,
I'm so happy, guys. We're live. I'm here with Alex Robbins. How are you this after? Well, late night
Hi,
for you.
Matt.
It's about 8 o'clock.
It's actually 9 o'clock because I live in
9 o'clock.
France. All those terrible
France.
places. Yeah, and so Europe has a really great idea of having an hourly difference, even though I'm only about I don't know 100 miles from the English coast, but that's far enough for there to be an hour difference. So I'm
Yeah,
actually 9 p.m.
I love that,
Um,
man. This is the first time I've talked to somebody in France. I am trying. You're an IT guy, so I may have to talk to you about this. I want to have like an interactive map where like I have like these little points where I can go and see who I've talked to and where, because I think it's just the coolest thing ever. So I'm glad you're here, man.
I have, okay, not IT at all, not IT related at all, but I actually have one of those like scratch maps. So it's like a
Uh,
map of the world that you buy, right? And you scratch the places off as you go to them.
oh wow,
So
I'll have
that
to look out for that.
you could try that. Yeah, you could try that would be another thing
Thank you
to
for that. No, I will.
yeah.
I've never heard of that, and now I have to get it. So I'll tell my wife because she's the Amazon person, and I'll be like, hey, look for this. And she'll hook me up with it.
Christmas coming up, gotta get
Christmas
that.
is
Yeah, that
yes.
Christmas list. Yeah, it's mid-November, man. You should really be on it.
Right, absolutely. So thank you, Timothy Wolf, another indie author. Thank you for being here. Yes, there was a little delay, and I think it was my fault. I'm pretty like 90% sure it was me because for some reason my computer isn't recognizing my microphone, and that's literally never happened before, ever, not one single time. I've unplugged it, like you know how you plug things in, you hear this ding, like oh, I've noticed you've plugged something in, but it's not recognizing it in StreamYard. We'll get to the bottom of it. But we're
Hey,
here.
no,
I hope
no,
the
no worries,
audio
man.
sounds okay.
Yeah, it's fine on mine. Yeah. Oh, hi, Tim.
Good.
Hi, Timothy. Nice to see you
Yes,
there.
Tim. Bert Strubble. I hope I'm Strubble. Let me know. He's
Hi.
here. He's always here. Thank you guys so much. John A. Douglas. I'm actually interviewing with him tonight. Been a long time coming. He just dropped a book, The Black Crown. Book Mama, of course, thank you for being here. Digging the posters in the back. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure those are your
but
covers that we'll get to,
they
right?
are. Yeah.
Um,
Everything's reversed. But yeah, that's the cover of my debut novel, and that one there is actually the last cover for the War of the Twelve series. You can actually, I shouldn't be always be pimping stuff. You can actually buy these. You can actually on my website you can buy various
oh, that's
sizes of
rad, dude.
cases and stuff.
People
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. That's something I set up just this year actually because people get asking me about it all the time, and it was surprisingly simple.
Oh,
So
that's good.
yeah, it's print on demand stuff, so it's a bit more expensive, I think, than if you buy a whole load of stock. But I don't have anywhere to put all my stock, so yeah, print on demand, and you can just go and order your size and stuff, and they print it out and ship it to you. So that's pretty good.
I love it.
Really
Yeah.
difficult shipping stuff from France to people. I
Oh,
always do all the the advanced review copies, and when I ran competitions, and when even just like and sometimes when people ask me for signed books and stuff, just having to ship that stuff worldwide is just crazy, man. You wouldn't believe the cost and just the hoops you have to go through, or the customs and stuff. Oh, it's
yeah.
terrible.
So my wife is a graphic designer, and she
Yeah.
does like clothing and stuff too. And like I've got so many, just like you being in France now that I know that, and I've got some authors in the UK, and they want to order things, but to offer shipping is absolutely
Oh,
ridiculous. For a
it's
shirt, it's
terrible.
like
Yeah.
$35 extra.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's about right. Yeah. Don't
mm,
talk to me about the UK. So it's like, because before, right? Okay, quick history lesson. Before the UK were part of Europe, I don't know if you knew this. So we were all the European Union. So we were all in this big happy family together. And a few years ago, the UK decided to leave Europe, right? So they became their own independent country, free from Europe in any case. So that was not great for a number of things. But one thing it affected as well was posting things to the UK. I have friends and family in the UK, and it's just the price has just gone up so much
Even for
since it's
you.
not. Yeah. Oh yeah. Even shipping something just as I said, 120 miles away. It's already the
That's
cost has
super
practically
close.
doubled. Yeah.
Oh my
It's sad.
gosh.
Yep.
Wow. Timothy Wolf, I think, has one of the nicest things ever. I'm assuming to hear as an author. Been excited for this interview. I hope I'm saying it right. Panacea and Metonia are excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I say Panacea. That's the. I don't know if that's. I think that's the right pronunciation. Panacea and
That
Metanoia. Yeah.
sounds way better than what I just said.
Well, you'll learn about. I'm like a really, really, really amateur Greek historian, and one of the first things you learn when you sort of look into Greek history is that everyone pronounces things differently. All the sort of Greek historians I listen to or I watch, some of them have YouTube channels and stuff, and depending on where they come from and or just they always pronounce things differently. So pronounce it how you want. I don't care. I say Panacea. Yeah, thanks, Tim. Tim has read and reviewed both my books, and I really appreciate it. It's so important to have to get indie authors. I'd say I'm a sort of a low tier indie author. I don't have the reach of some of the more well-known indie authors, and just so every review for me is just great. It's blood life. It's great. So Timothy, yeah, read the first two, reviewed the first two. So thanks for that, Tim. Your book is on my list. It's on my TBR. The
I'm reading it
first.
this month. I'm about to crack it.
Really, Platinum Tinted Darkness, right? Yeah, that's right, isn't it, Tim?
Yep.
Yeah, it's on my Kindle. The thing that's just got really, really bad since I started writing is just I just no longer have time to read. It's terrible. It's awful, and I feel really guilty about it because I see other authors reading my books and stuff. And oh yeah, I should read theirs. And it's just on there, and I just can't get to it. I only have a couple of hours of free time a day, and it's going to writing mostly, unfortunately.
That's that's understandable. I mean, you're an author, so that's what you do. And even as somebody who reads as much as I can, it's still like I have a lot to get to. I've got a lot of people who are looking for a review, and it'll come. It takes time, just like anything else. The Renegade Bard, I'm gonna tell on him. That's Brian D. Anderson. We had a little chat last night. It was wonderful. It was so much fun. Panacea, or will you say it again?
It's just I say Panacea. Yeah. So
Panacea.
like,
all right. He said
can you
means
can you
something.
can you see ya? Yeah, I can Panacea. There you go.
Okay.
So,
I love
Panacea,
it. Panacea.
Yes, it means something that can have everything. Yeah. So if you read the book, if it's something that's interesting, hopefully by the time you finish this conversation, you'll think you might want to think about picking up the book. Yeah, that's Panacea is it's a heal all. It's a sort of like it's a bit of a MacGuffin. A lot of the time, it's a sort of heal all wounds, cure disease, that sort of thing. That's where the word comes from. Yeah, the myth of Panacea is the magical artifact or the magical elixir that can heal all, and it's very important to the book.
I love that. Matt from Matt's Fantasy Books popping in, checking the accents. He's an accent guy. That's cool. I have to say I agree, man. I think it's so fun, the culture, because with a different accent, there's culture, there's similarities, there's differences. I'm all about it, man.
Yeah. So this is actually terrible, but I'm actually English. So I was born and raised in the UK, and I actually came across to France in 1995. So I've been in France about 30 years now. And that is an unfortunate side effect of me living in France now. So I still go back to the UK. I still, my family are here. So my parents live in France. But I still have friends in the UK and stuff. And when I go back, they say the exact same thing. So, your French accent when you speak English, it's getting more and more pronounced. You can hear it more and more. It's
Naturally,
I don't know.
right?
Yeah. I'm getting. Well, I'm losing like my English accent, and I'm getting a sort of French accent.
Well, that makes
slipping
perfect
into
sense.
my English. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? But I haven't gone full blown French accent yet. But more and more of it is creeping in because I speak less and less English. And that's the terrible thing. I'd like to speak more, but in my day job, I speak mostly French.
Oh, that's so cool. You're bilingual, man. That's something that I want to do someday. I can speak some Spanish, but some, not much. But I want to be fluent in another language eventually.
Oh
So
man, yeah,
tell us about your two series. Give us a little
yeah.
overview of each. I'd love to hear that from the author himself.
Yeah, sure. So the first one is this one. So that's book one, just above my slightly balding head. So this is called The War of the Twelve. So it's a quartet. Some people say quadrilogy. I call it a quartet. So it's 4 books, and this is a sort of medieval fantasy. So all the stuff I write is pretty fast paced, pretty action packed. So all these books,
Yes.
I mean, I call them epic fantasy, but they're epic in scale, not necessarily in length, right? They're not chonkers. You're not going to stop you, use them as a doorstop. So they're all sort of like 400 pages or so. And so the first one, War of the 12, is about it's basically about the sort of unreliability of history, and like how there are lots of sort of legends and myths that we take for granted and get twisted and warped as they're sort of transmitted through the generations, right? You know, sort of like it's sort of like Chinese whispers, right? Where someone says something to someone else and they're on the queue, and by the time it gets to the guy at the end, you know, he's going to say something that's completely different to the first guy, right? And
Sure.
and lots of oral histories are like that. So they get changed. You know, as you're going through the generations, you're changing things a little bit. And so what these books are about is that sort of 300 or 400 years ago, there was a great calamity that happened in this sort of medieval-inspired fantasy world, and these creatures erupt from the darkness, and they start sort of massacring the human tribes that are around at the time, and they're eventually pushed back by these 12 mythical demigods called the 12, right?
Mm.
And there's this sort of 100-year war that goes on between these creatures called the Greylings, which are the creatures that live underground, and these 12 demigods. And then roughly 300 years ago, these demigods, they just disappear completely. So no one knows why, no one knows how. They completely, disappear from sight, and fall into again, sort of myth and legend, right? And so no one really knows what's happened. And as time goes on, they sort of fall away from memory to such an extent that the sort of places that these Greylings, these nasty underground creatures, sort of came out of, when during this war, there were big walls that were built. They're called the pits, right? And so during the war, there were these big walls that were built around these pits to keep the Greylings in, to stop them coming out and stuff. And 300 years later, the walls are still there. There's still people manning them. Remains of the sort of guards that are manning them. They sort of shrunk from several thousand to half dozen. And
Wow.
so these guys are still sort of manning these walls, but they don't really know why. They spent their entire lives staring into these big pits. They imagine these big sort of caverns, the big caves, staring into them on these massive walls, a mile wide, staring into these places, not really knowing what they're doing or why they're doing it. They've just been told to do it. And the book starts when the Greylings return. So they come back out of these pits again and start
That
wreaking
sounds
havoc.
really
Yeah. So
intense.
yeah, and we learn over the 4 books that what actually happened. We get little snippets throughout the 4 books, sort of what happened in this period before these 12 demigods arrived. What happens in the period since they left? Nothing is as it seems. And the further you go on, you realize that there's lies built on lies, built on lies, built on lies, and everything sort of twists and turns until we get to the final conclusion to what actually happened. Find out what actually happened in the last book.
That's
So very
amazing. That
fast
sounds
paced,
incredible.
lots of action, lots of battles. I don't write very flowery prose, right? So I'm not. If you're going in looking for a sort of Philip Chase equivalent or a Patrick Rothfuss or something like that, you won't find that there. I'm more. I really liked growing up. I read a lot of sort of Michael Moorcock and some of the smaller, fast-paced epic fantasies, and I really enjoyed those sort of bite-sized stories, right? And so that's what
Mhm.
I'm aiming for. So it's meant to be pretty easy to follow, pretty fast read. A lot of people say they read the book in each book in a day or two. You can read the
Oh
quartet
wow.
over. Yeah. So it's pretty fast, pretty quick going. But that's the intent.
No,
And
that's
yeah,
great.
it's just made me fun. It's just made me fun.
Uh,
Some deep themes, but nothing too nasty.
So I look for those because like I really like an epic big book, but I also equally like a book that
Thanks for
what you write exactly like it's especially
yeah.
as somebody who reviews. Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
the big
Oh
deep books, but if I can review two or three really quick, that's always a plus. And not only that, even if I'm not a reviewer, it's a quick punch to the face, I guess is the way that I like to say it.
yeah. It's funny because a lot of people that read and review the books, and I look through the reviews, they say, oh, I just picked this up after reading, Sanderson, or I just picked this up after reading or Tolkien, or I
Yeah,
just picked
yeah.
it up, and they said, yeah, and then they said it's like a massive change. That there a lot. I see the word sort of palate cleanser quite a lot. I see all these people that have read
Oh
all these
yeah.
really, really big long books, and they just want something, quick, fast, and easy to get into that can be over in a weekend or so, and that's the idea. And it's one of the reasons I read it is that I feel I might be wrong, so feel free to correct me, but I feel that we're kind of getting away from that sort of fantasy a little bit. I mean, I think there's more and more pressure when you write an epic fantasy to, as I was saying earlier, epic in length. So there are all these books I see that come out more and more where if it's anything under 100 pages or 500 pages, should I say, it's not necessarily considered epic fantasy. Or if I see all these on Twitter and stuff, and people saying, oh no, I've just reached 180,000 words on my thing, I've just reached 200,000, I've just reached 200,000, and I'm thinking like that. I mean, if they're 200,000 good words and the pace is great and everything, that's just perfect. That's fine and everything. But
Sure.
like I have two kids now. I have 2 hours to write or read in the evening. I just can't, like, 200,000 words.
It's a lot, guys.
That would take me a while to read. I'm quite a slow reader as well. I'm quite a slow
Yeah.
reader as well. And I was reading it actually sort of when I was reading. So I wrote the first book in 2020, so between 2019 and 2020, just before COVID. So that's great. And it sort of came to me as I was reading Sanderson, and I was reading. I think it can't have been Rhythm of War. It must have been Oathbreaker, so it must have been the one before that. Those, sort of thousand pages sort of thing. I was just chugging through it, and I like Sanderson. He's great. He's a great author. I love what he does. But I was just getting through it, and I'd spent sort of a week every evening reading a chapter or so, and his books have 100 chapters in them.
Yeah,
And I
it's
was going,
crazy.
I was
It's
saying,
not.
I like it, but when am I going to finish it? And it got me thinking that these sort of shorter stories, they can be interesting too. To tell something in a
Oh yeah.
condensed format. You can have character development, you can have action, you can have character development, you can have themes, you can have in my books, the people travel all over the different baronies that make up the land. You can have journeys, you can have travels, you can have a wide and varied cast of characters. But you can condense that into a smaller page count and still have it be interesting. I think.
No, I agree with you. Some of I have a lot of favorite short stories that I never thought that I would read short stories, but I like them. Again, I'll go back to a quick punch in the face. I like it, and it's also a nice palate cleanser too. Like a novella, those are fun. I
Oh
just
yeah,
read
absolutely.
this was my very first poetry book. Like it's called In Memory of Exoskeletons by
Oh, I haven't heard
Rebecca.
of that.
Yeah, so it's like the way she explained it was poetry for people who aren't into poetry, and I get what she means. It's
Perfect.
wonderful. But yeah, so that's just an example of something that's short but impactful. Brian D. Anderson wants to know: is it a hard or soft magic system, and why?
Yeah, I'm reading the question. There is. I don't want to say too much about it because okay. So the idea is so I'm a history buff, right? So I
Mhm.
really like there's and that's great living in France because I live in this area of France called the Loire Valley. So the Loire Valley is the Loire is a river, so it's this long river that goes through the sort of western part of France, and there are loads and loads of castles, like medieval castles around here.
Oh, that's so
So it's
cool,
great
man.
for me. So every weekend I can go and visit castles and stuff, and there's lots of medieval armor. You can go and fire a crossbow. You can go and watch a catapult fire and that sort of thing. So I love all
Ah,
that stuff. So I like to try and ground the stuff I write, be it the War of the 12 stuff or my other series that we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, they need to be sort of grounded historically. with like a massive but, and the but is that it still has to be interesting. So so one of the reviews I got for was like, oh, you know, how these guys managed to they're knights in these stories. So how these guys managed to move around in heavy armor. You know, obviously the author doesn't know that, you know, they couldn't move that fast and whatever. I know that. I know they can't move that
Mhm.
fast. You know, in medieval times, knights used to have to be helped onto their horses because they were so heavy. And if the, you know, often the archers used to shoot the horses, right? And then the horses fell on the knights, and the knights were so heavy they couldn't get up.
Yeah,
And
that's
then, you know,
incredible.
you came with your pike and you just shoved it through their visor, and that was it.
Lights
You
out.
know all that stuff, but you want the story to be interesting. So to come back to the magic system is there is one, without going to spoilers. It is grounded in reality. It definitely has hard rules, and it's definitely has limits, and it takes its toll on its users plural as well. I won't go into too much detail. That it involves I think it's like, yeah. So it involves two. Only works through two different people. So one person is the receiver and the other person is the giver, and
Okay.
it works through blood. So if the receiver ingests, touches, drinks, the blood of the donor, that will then awaken their latent abilities. So the priestesses that access this sort of magic, they basically so it's only one or two people that are compatible, right? So they have these sort of trials where they go around the various villages of the baronies, and they sort of test people to see if they're different people that are compatible. And
Okay.
then the powers only work if the priestesses who so it's only women who can access the magic in these books, and they carry vials of blood of their donors around with them as necklaces,
Wow,
and then they
that's so
then
interesting.
drink
Wow.
it to access their power. So that's how that works. But
I
briefly,
love hearing about people's
yeah.
magic systems. Now, I mean, to come up with something like that, you really have to have an imagination. And now see, I just started reading it when I was 29. I'm 33 today, actually. Today's my birthday.
Happy
And
birthday!
yeah, thank you so much. But what I'm saying that because I haven't been reading very long. I just never thought that I would like it, and then all of a sudden I have this intense passion for it. But I'm on the road now. But I love hearing about the specifically world building and the magic system, just because you can tell there's so much inspiration or imagination that goes into. I mean, what you were talking about, your magic system is so deep. As far as latent abilities and blood and carrying around, that's really cool, man.
Oh yeah,
So
thanks.
thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that. So the Ruined God series, would you give us a
yeah,
little bit of
yeah.
overview on that?
So that's my second series. Yeah. So the World of 12. So the four books that are here. So I finished them. So the first one was out in 2021, and then the other three I wrote the first two at the same time, and then the other two were out in 2022. And then yeah, I'm now working on the Ruined God series. So the Ruined God series is completely different. The Ruined God series is based off my love of ancient Greece. So I'm a massive fan of ancient Greece mythology, ancient Greek history, and stuff like that. You know, my dad is a massive fan, and he sort of dragged me into it. I say dragged, but it didn't
No,
take much
you
talking to get. Yeah,
sure, sure.
and same kind of idea. It's mixing. It's grounded in history. I really like. I take a lot of care about the sort of the weapons that are used, you know, the arms and armor and stuff like that. But then in a fantasy setting. So the Ruined Gods is so when I talk about ancient Greece, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So ancient Greece is basically hoplites. So it's basically the film 300 is a very fantasized version of that, but it's basically, you know, Hercules, the 300, Clash of the Titans, you know, all of that stuff. That's what we're talking
Sure.
about. So it's these guys with
Oops, sorry guys.
no worries. So it's these guys with these bronze armor, bronze helms, massive sort of oval-shaped shields they used to hold on their left arm to build these massive shield walls. Really long, massive spears that they used to use to poke over the shield walls. that and juxtapose that with all the sort of massive Greek mythology. So we're talking, yeah, there we go. So we're talking Minotaurs, like that massive Minotaur that's on the cover. We're
Such a
talking other
badass.
mythological creatures that I won't spoil. So it's mainly grounded. It's mainly quite realistic. So it's the same sort of very fast paced, very action packed as the War of the Twelve. This time in a sort of ancient Greek setting, and it's turning the sort of whole thing of Greek gods and goddesses on its head as well. So in Panacea, all of the male gods, right? So we're talking Zeus, we're talking Apollo, we're talking Poseidon, Hades. All the
Love
main
it.
Greek gods have been. There's been a civil war within the sort of pantheon. So the pantheon is the Greek deities, and all the male gods lost. So all the male gods have been banished from Mount Olympus, and it's now the female gods that rule, right? So Hera is now the head of the pantheon. It's Persephone who rules the underworld now. It's not Hades, and the same sort of thing as with the War of the 12 is that these sort of gods are sustained by their belief, right? So the more believers they have, the stronger they are, and the less believers they have, the weaker they get. Until eventually, if they have no believers, they just disappear
Yep.
entirely. So the idea of the female gods banishing all the male gods was that the male gods will just like go away and hide, and as time goes on, right, their temples will get pulled down. Like all the priests that worship the male gods, they were persecuted. All the sort of tablets and stuff that were that spoke of all the male gods, they're all like destroyed. All the sculptures, all like destroyed and everything. And so what the female gods are trying to do, they're trying to make everyone forget. So no one believes in the male gods anymore, and because no one believes in them, they'll then just sort of like die out. So that's where we find that's how the story begins. And the sort of human populations have been living in relative harmony for a while. And the sort of mythological creatures, including minotaurs, which on the cover have been sort of keeping to themselves on the other side of this massive mountain range called the Darius Mountains. And at the start of the first novels, the Minotaurs cross over the mountains. We don't know why, but they're obviously afraid of something. They're being driven away from their home by something. We'll
Yeah.
find out later on what it is. And they cross over into the mountains and start attacking the human settlements. And that's how it starts. We go on from there.
When I started reading the part you're speaking of, it's like everything is so, you set up the world, you set up like the scenes very well. People are just kind of hanging out, and you, in my head, I envision very much like Sparta, kind of like the
Yeah, it's
Spartans.
exactly that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah.
And then
So
all
we're
of a sudden,
thinking of, yeah,
shit starts hitting the fan. It's like
it
things
does,
start
yeah.
going south. I love it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's the idea. So it's meant to be. It's definitely not, because when I first started thinking about what I wanted to do after the War of the 12 books, I started thinking maybe I want to do more sort of historical fiction. So there's a guy who writes historical fiction who I really like. I think I just read one of his books a while back. So this guy called Kristen Cameron. It's actually Miles Cameron, but he writes
Christian
on the name
Cameron.
Kristen Cameron as well. Yeah. So this guy is great. So he's written a lot of books set in that period. He's actually a reenactor. I was about to say cosplay. I should definitely not say that. He's actually a reenactor as well. So he sort of goes to Greece, and he has his like his Greek armor, and his panoply and
Wow.
all that stuff. So he writes really great historical fiction. So I started thinking, oh yeah, I like to write something like that. And when I started like planning it out, I was like, oh, but it's just too much work. I'm too lazy. I don't want everything to be. I don't, historians to say, oh yeah, but they wouldn't have used that bowl, or they wouldn't have washed their hands with that towel. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'll set it in a Greek like fantasy world, so I can draw on the stuff I like and that I'm knowledgeable in, which is all the arms and armor and military tactics and stuff like that, which I know about. And the stuff I'm less sure of, I can sort of cheese a little bit. Yeah.
No, it's a fantasy novel. Not, I mean, if
Exactly. Yeah.
is there a way for any one author to get every single historical piece, just like down to the
Oh
towels that
man.
you're washing hand? I mean, we weren't there, guys. You know,
I mean, there are people that's like that really, really thoroughly research stuff, but it takes years, man. I mean, if you wanna get something really historically accurate, you have to spend a lot of time.
the
Yeah.
sources. The guy that
So it's
wrote the
like this.
Wait, oh, David
So
Grann, I think is his name. Like the sources
yes.
that this guy is, he writes nonfiction, but it reads like it's a story. I mean, but it's so historically accurate that there's like almost a whole chapter full of just sources.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So writing The Ruined Gods, I think I had about 30 or 40 research books I looked into, and I'm not writing historical fiction. So this is just for a fantasy novel that I want
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be close to, and but not as accurate as I can get it. So I just can't imagine the time and research would go into making something incredibly accurate.
So I think that was a great answer to Brian's question. That was pretty perfect.
Yeah,
That's a lot of time, man. That's bravo to that, because it just, that's time. And you've got kids, I've got kids, I get it. Like
yeah. It
sit and
has to be
research
something you're passionate about, definitely.
that. Yeah, I like, so sticks and stones may break my bones, but an author's words will always piss someone off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of, I thought, I thought, okay, I'm going to write something that's not historical fantasy. It's not historical fiction. Sorry, it's not even going to be historical fantasy actually, because it's not set not in an alternate Earth. It's completely different. Whatever. I said, okay, I'll put this out. Start getting to reviews and stuff. And there's one person who wrote back for Panacea, and she said. She said, "Oh, the main guy, so the protagonist is called Dexys," and she was like, "Well, this is obviously not historically accurate because he has short hair. He has close cropped hair, and the Spartans they used to have really long hair, right? Because the Spartans were like the alpha males, right? So they hair was a big thing. Hair was a big deal. So we would be in trouble, Matt.
I was gonna say,
so
man, where are we at
so
in this?
we'd be in trouble. We'd be in trouble. So hair is a big thing. You have to have long, luxurious hair. They used to braid their hair. When they used to put their helmets on, they used to sort of like push their hair up into sort of top knot and put their helm over the top, right? And she was like, "Oh yeah, this is terrible. This is this guy. He's a strategist. He's a general. And he used to have like close cropped hair and stuff like that." And I was like, she's talking about this thing she hasn't seen. There's this big Minotaur on the cover. It's not historical fiction. I put
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Minotaur. I tried to be as clear as I could. If you see a Minotaur on the cover, it's probably not going to be historical fiction. And the other ones I wanted to give was that I know all this. I know that Spartans. I know the whole hair thing. This all came up as part of my research. I know all about that different stuff, and it's something that I'm really interested in. But Dexys in the book is actually he's kind of a bit of a social pariah. I mean, he doesn't adhere to social norms, right? So what's the two protagonists? There are three main protagonists in Panacea. So the first is Dexys. So he's a general, a strategist. So he's been fighting wars for a long time, and he's just he's a complete social pariah. He hates going to social gatherings. He's never happier than when he's out on a military campaign stuff. So he doesn't care what he looks like. He cuts his hair short because he spends a lot of time, fighting in the southern lands where it's hot or in the jungle when it's humid, etc., etc. So he doesn't want to have long hair. He doesn't care what people think. And the other main character is a character called Elena, who's a teacher. So another instance where I completely diverged from history because there were no female teachers. I mean, women in ancient Greece didn't do much, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so she's a bit of a social pariah as well. So I like writing characters that are a bit on the fringes of society now, who are a bit different.
Corey wants to know if Felix did your covers.
Yeah, yeah. So the War of the 12. So the four on this side. I'm not going to get this right. The four on this side were not done by Felix. They were done by a company called De Monza, and De Monza. I think they're a New Zealand company.
Okay.
But I just fell in love with the stuff they did, and I'm really pleased with how these came out. I wanted
Oh
the
my
theme. I
gosh, yeah.
basically for the first one, So this one. So so I sort of drew a stick figure of a knight with a castle behind us. I think I want something like this with all these little gradings running towards the castle. And the guy came back with that, and I was like, yeah, not bad. And so we then kept that theme throughout the other books of having a town or a castle or a fortress or something in the background each time, then having one of the main characters and having a different color palette, and they look so nice together as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're beautiful.
Felix did Panacea and Metanoia, which is the two books in the Ruined Gods trilogy, and he did the cover for the third one as well. I don't know when
Oh,
that guy
that wasn't it.
sleeps. I don't think he ever sleeps. I don't think. I mean,
Yeah,
he's now doing interior art as well. I see, like Ryan Carroll, for example,
Malazan.
his bound and broken stuff. That's all. That's all Felix. No, well, no, it's not all Felix actually. Sorry, but that Felix has done some interior art for that. He's. I don't know. I don't know how he does it, man. It's just incredible. And he has a really quick turnaround, right? So yeah, thanks. So that's the War of the 12. Yeah, that's
That's
my
epic if I've
first.
ever seen one.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
yeah,
epic. I love that.
really pleased with that cover. Yeah.
So yeah, Felix is EC Greaves, another indie author from New Zealand, was talking. We were talking about Felix. He said, "Man, I think he's an octopus. He's just like doing 8
Yep. At
covers at a
least.
time."
Yeah. Yeah. Either
I
that
tell,
or he draws with his feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The
Yeah.
guy
But
is just, and it must
what
be
I
cool
wanted to
because
do with the
people who can notice like your art through, like he didn't know the answer to this question. He just
no.
could see it.
Yeah, he has quite, I think he has quite a distinctive style. But what I wanted to do with Figs, I hope I challenged him a little bit, because what I said to him is that what I wanted to do for these books is I wanted to do so everything black and white, ink work black and white, but then just one sort of main color, right? One prime color for each of the books. So the first book is Panacea, so that's red, and the second
Yeah,
one is this one, so Metanoia. So Metanoia. Oh god, he beat me to it. So Metanoia is the second one. So that's got sort of blue palette. So that's Zeus and
that
Hera on the cover there, duking it out. Yeah. So I sort of said to him, I want this one color and the rest to be sort of black and white. And he said, oh yeah, I haven't done that before. That'd be a good that'd be
it
a good
pops, dude.
challenge. Yeah. Yeah. I
The
think it makes
the
them stand out. It makes them look a bit different. I
it,
think
they
the
that's
no, I
sorry.
was just going to say. I was just going to say. I think the only. I don't know if it's a problem. I shouldn't. Probably shouldn't say this. But I think the only difficulty people that use Felix often is that there might come a time where, if his artwork is on everything, will it still be as impactful? It's just I don't have an answer to that question. I'm wondering about it, but it's true that he's definitely becoming yeah, he's definitely becoming one the guy to go to for a
Yeah.
lot of indie
Is
authors.
this the question you're saying? Did you see this question? It says, "How does your life experience impact what happens to your characters?"
Oh, massively! Yeah, massively. All of my another reason I wanted to start writing was I was fed up of characters that didn't really represent me. I mean, that sounds really stupid coming from a 40-year-old white male, but I just felt that a lot of fantasy I was reading, there's always it's always the orphan, or it's always the guy coming to his powers, or the guy inheriting some sort of magical properties, or the guy who turns out to be the son of a king, or the guy who has to go off to a quest to find something like that. And it just didn't. I was just getting bored of reading, the same old thing all the time, and so I really wanted to write characters who were parents, who had difficult relationships with their children and their fathers, who were a bit world weary, who were a bit maybe looking to change things in their lives as well. You talk about this sort of 40, the midlife crisis, it's that sort of thing. I think it's important, and I think we don't have enough middle-aged heroes. And then, I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
I say heroes, but heroes isn't really the right word, because they're just people, like, in the War of the 12, this guy just guarding the pit, doesn't really thrust into circumstances beyond his control. And the same thing with Panacea, the main guy Dexios. I mean, he is actually on the verge of retirement. He's in his late 40s, and he's looking forward to spending some good old time on the vineyard. and then he's thrust back into things against his better judgment. So I really wanted to write. So yeah, definitely, it's massively impactful, and having children, I think, makes writing about father-son relationships and what would happen if you lose your child, or lose your father. I think all those things impact your writing, definitely. Yeah.
Those are good themes to hit too, because as humans we just relate with. There's As a human, if you've dealt with it, you can bet that many people have dealt with it, and I think relating with an author through their book like that is wonderful. So people
Yeah.
who write with through their own experiences, I think the best stories out there.
Social exclusion as well. I think it's like an important thing. I mean, certainly it was an important part of, not an important part, but a part of my life, because moving to France from England when I was 12 when I moved to France. And so basically in a week I went from going to an English school, having all my English friends and all that, and then being taken
Yeah.
across the channel to another country. I didn't speak French at all, so I didn't speak the language. Going to obviously a French school, so all the people around me were speaking French. All the classes I went to, all the teachers were speaking French. In and out of school, French just all the time, and not understanding anything, and
Oh my
having
gosh, that
having
must
people
have been
mock me
crazy.
for my accent,
Um,
or mock me knowing I wouldn't understand what they're saying, and that sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, that's
And
so cruel.
being, oh yeah, but hey, 12-year-olds, Matt, 12-year-olds
Yeah,
are just the worst.
yeah.
Yeah, so and I think that as well, and having to overcome that, and having to sort of reinsert myself again
Oh,
into society. That was yeah, something that definitely is an important part of my life that then goes into my writing as well.
thank you for sharing that, man. That's brave.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you. I think a lot of people. I mean, that's a very specific situation that people. I've never really thought about going to, like, you go to this place and you just don't understand what they're
Oh
saying,
yeah, it's
or
terrifying. Yeah.
and on top of that, like you said, the 12-year-old cruelty that is in every 12-year-old. That's something you overcame and conquered, and I look up to you for that, man. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks,
Uh,
man. Yeah, sure.
yeah, of course. Timothy Wolf says, totally agree. I'm 36. Man, you're so old. He says, I get bummed when
Yeah.
characters are in their 30s, are written as ancient
Oh man.
sagas as well, beyond their prime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
I like,
yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because when you're in your 20s, right, and you see all these guys in their 40s, you're like, oh, they're just like so old, what they just like, oh. And then when you're 40, you're like, well, we're not old. Well,
no,
what's rubbish. And then we look at
exactly.
people at 60 who said, oh, these people at 60, they really don't, having computer problems. They don't know what's on in the world today. And I'm sure when we're 60, we're saying the exact same thing to people that are 80, and it just goes on and on, doesn't it?
It
Yeah.
does. I like what the point you're making. I think we need middle-aged people going through heroic and epic ordeals in books. So I agree.
And I think it's also it's kind of more validating, isn't it? When you don't have okay, that's slight tangent, but like one of my favorite superheroes, right, is Batman, because Batman he has no superpowers. He has no he's middle aged as well. He has no superpowers. He
Yeah,
has no sort of mystical, I don't know, whatever. He has, even his suit isn't that great. I mean, it stops bullets. That's just about it. And this guy, he goes up against everything really, and I think it's really validating to follow people that don't have any special advantage against what they're going up against, and the fact that they do it anyway, I find that pretty courageous and interesting to write about.
it is. It is. It's very cool. Do you remember what the first fantasy novel that was read to you or that you read?
Yeah, I mean, when I was what was read to me was the sort of UK staples. So it would have been the Chronicles of Narnia. C.S. Lewis was probably the first, among the first stuff that was read to me, and the seven books. So not just the Lion, Witch, and the
Oh wow, the
Wardrobe,
whole
and
thing.
Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, Silver Chair, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, all of that. That I think sparked a bit of interest, and that and The Hobbit, obviously, Tolkien's The
Mm.
Hobbit was what used to be. What really got me into fantasy was when went to secondary school. So I don't know what the American equivalent of that was be. That would have been when I've been 10, I guess, 10 or 11.
It's
And
elementary or middle school
yeah, I guess middle
here.
school. And yeah, so 10 or 11, and discovering the library they had there. And it's such a great library. It was in this old undercroft, right? This old chapel had been converted into this library. So you had these big stone arched ceilings,
Ah,
right? And just walls upon walls of books just filling this space. And it was really great. I spent a lot of time in there. And that's when I discovered I'd say the late 80s, early 90s classical fantasy. So that would be Eddings and Weiss and Hickman and Michael Moorcock again and stuff like that. So that's what I read. I read pretty much anything Eddings wrote, a whole load of Dragonlance stuff that I'd
Moorcock's been on my
forgotten about.
radar lately.
Moorcock's great. You were just talking about reading like short, impactful stories.
Yeah.
Eric of Melibone, that he started out writing that as really sort of short, really sort of classic fantasy. Anti-hero stuff,
Ooh.
and as the books go on, they start to intertwine more, and then he starts to link in other series and stuff, and then by the time you get to the end of it, there's this massive sort of cosmic spanning universal series that goes across several different books and stuff, but each book can be read and enjoyed individually, and it's the same thing. It's really easy to read, it's really fast paced, easy to read stuff. I love his books, really
I
recommend
can't
them.
wait to. Yeah, I can't wait to dip in. I had to say that because just in the last week or so, I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm really excited to read somebody that's not a mod. Like I said, I've only been reading fantasy for 4 or 5 years now, and I've got. I was going to show you this. This is what I'm gonna read my son when he's old enough.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I picked that
What a
up,
great
and
addition with the sprayed edges. Awesome.
yeah, it was at Walmart,
Oh, that's
which is
crazy.
just a normal chain here, just like the everyday grocery store. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful. But I have another one that I was gonna read my son, but I had to grab that. It's got like all the early illustrations in it, like really elemental, basic like the beginning of when he was thinking the world up. So it's gonna be fun. But no, Michael Moorcock's been on my radar. Just I've heard his name so much just talking with authors like yourself. And I've been thoroughly talked into picking up everything he's written.
I think
Uh,
there's a guy I forgot. I shouldn't have, because he's probably one of the guys who inspired me the most, and that's David Gemmell. I don't know if you've heard of him. So
ooh,
David Gemmell
of
is
course
a
I have.
British fantasy writer. So he's probably the greatest inspiration, and I'd probably say he's probably about the closest as you could get to what I aspire to write. So he's the same sort of thing. He writes very. I think he wrote. How many books has he written? God, it must be 40 or
Legend's the one
50.
that I'm after.
Legend is amazing. So I always tell people to start there. So Legend, little story behind Legend. So Legend, what happened was he was actually diagnosed with quite a serious disease, and he was in hospital, and he
Mhm.
was thinking he was going to die, right? And
Sure.
the doctors were sort of saying, oh, you have 2 weeks to live. And so he said, okay, well, I'm gonna write this book. And so Legend is about this overwhelming force attacking this fortress, and the fortress is actually an allegory for him. So he was the fortress, and the sort of force attacking it was the disease
Oh wow.
yeah. So he wrote this book. So literally, he wrote Legend in 2 weeks because he thought he was going to die. So in 2 weeks, he wrote this amazing book. Yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
turned out he didn't die, and he went on to write a lot of more books. But that's how he started as an author, just
I,
faced with his own mortality. Pretty great, huh?
it
Yeah.
is. I did not know that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm looking. I'm actually okay. So Legend is actual because he's got like a series here like
So it's the
Trust the Legend.
Draenei. Yeah, so the Draenei series so they don't necessarily all follow on. So Just the Legends is so in the book Legends, Just the Legends, talking about middle-aged characters, Just the Legend is probably one of the oldest protagonists you'll ever read about. So he's a guy, he's in his late 60s, and he finds himself drawn back to this fortress that I was talking to you about, that's under siege by this horde of evil people. I forget the name, the Nari, the Nasrid, something like that. And yeah, so that's the first book, and then the other books sort of expand on that. So Just the Legend that you just talked about. So that's him in his earlier days. Then there's The King Beyond the Gate, which is sort of what happens after Legend. So I think there's a series of books that span the history of that entire sort of storyline over 300 or 400 years. They're
I'm
all
very
good, but
excited.
Legend, you got to start. Yeah, start with Legend. Legend's great. Three or 400 pages. You can get through that quite easily. Very easy to read. And yeah, I'm just hooked, man. And you talking about the guy who has ideas. That guy, the Gemmell, he wrote about as I said, 40 or 50 books over the space of 20 years, and each one is different enough for it to be interesting. You know, different magic systems, different characters and stuff. Yeah, great stuff.
That's probably the next one I'll buy is Legend, because I've been
Oh
thoroughly
yeah,
talking, and something by Michael Moorcock. Thank you for touching on that, man. I'm excited.
sure.
So we've kind of answered that. Guys, I was really touched when Alex told me about this, but he wants to drop the next title in the War of 12, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just finishing up the first draft of the third book now. So it will be out early next year, and it's going to be called, drumroll, Titanica. So Titanica, yeah. So Titanica will be the name of the third book. So we'll have a little. So we can do a little rhyme with Panacea, Metanoia, and Titanica. So why is it called Titanica? Well, Titanica, as in Titans. So Titans are basically what came before the gods, right? So you have all these Greek gods. You have Zeus, Hera. You have, your Aphrodite, your Apollos, and all of that. But before that, Zeus's father was a guy called Kronos. You might have heard of Kronos. So Kronos was basically who was there before Zeus and all of that. And there was a massive war in between the Titans, and you might have heard of Atlas. Atlas was a Titan. Prometheus was a Titan. All of these names that could come down into our language. And there was this massive war called the Titanomachy. And so the Titanomachy was this massive war that happened between the Titans and the gods in ancient Greek history. And so something is going to happen in book 3 between Titans and the gods. So you have to wait.
I mispronounced. I'm so sorry. I said War of the 12. That's not that he's talking the Ruined Gods.
I'm talking about the Ruined Gods. Yeah, so the Ruined Gods is my new trilogy. Yeah, so this will be the third and final book. So this is it. This is going to be.
This will complete. People are so excited for that.
Yeah. People
with I'm sorry. I always tell people if I accidentally interrupt, it's totally not on purpose. It's the lag.
Wait a minute. No, go ahead.
So I love that. It's all 3 titles just like they punch you right in the throat. They're one word, and I think that the what is it? The gods' names are just all like that. They're all just like I don't know.
Zeus, Kronos. You feel like you just feel like feel like you just been hit with something.
Yes.
Greek just generally is full of it's full of osses and ioses and dexios and kronos and all these words that finish with did you miss the title, Timothy? Oh no, you did. Yeah, it's Titanica. Yeah, Titanica. Is going to be the
wonderful.
Not to be confused with Titanic.
Very far eras that are very far apart.
Exactly.
So thank you, Knoxwich Book Life, for coming through. Good evening to you. And Mark Timoney, how are you, my friend? I just received his beautiful book. I just put it on my shelf earlier. If I grab it, I'm gonna mess up my green screen. But The Blood of the Spirit.
Mark is another great author. Mark, you're on my list too. Got all these. I just feel so guilty seeing these names flash up and thinking, oh, got all these books. You just need to take like a year off life at some point, don't you?
You do.
Just spend a year just reading. That's basically what you need to do.
Look at this. I forgot it was right next to me. Here we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Man, and the naked hardback too. Oh my gosh!
I need to speak to Mark about how he gets his hardback so great because when you're an indie author, right, you have various options for for printing. So you have Amazon, which is the worst possible option. It's the easiest option, it's the worst possible option. Amazon print their stuff pretty much worldwide, and I've never, I think out of I normally order a couple of dozen books of each when each book comes out, right? And I don't think I've ever had 3 or 4 identical, right? The color is always slightly off on one of them, or the spine is slightly off, or the whatever. So
Let me
Amazon.
see. I think I know what you're talking about. Let me grab one because I'm not going to show the fronts or nothing, but they're always
Yeah.
like there's no dust cover. It's always like
Yep.
shiny. They're different.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. And I go through them with my paper for my paperbacks, but I always when I'm doing the covers and stuff, I always think, okay, I can't have something that needs to be really, spot on the spine, because I know sometimes they muck up the spines, and they sometimes they muck up the pages, and sometimes they muck up the layout, and it's terrible. Ingram Spark are another company will do wide distribution who are better. But I don't think, Mark will correct me. Oh, you do use Ingram, and so Mark, that dust cover and an interior hardback, that's through Ingram then that you did that. Yeah, so Ingram are much better, and I haven't experimented with them much for hardbacks yet. But I think I'm
it's
going to
just
have to get on
gorgeous.
that. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to get on that.
And like the maps, like you can read absolutely every part of every city.
Yeah, their printing quality is better as well. They're a bit more expensive, but it's certainly.
I think it's great
to choose between the two.
I think it's great that authors have so many different choices, though, because there's something for everybody, and I love that. I'm actually going to do a video soon. I haven't been putting out many like uploaded videos. I've just been doing a lot of lives, but I think my next one's going to be about format. Because there's all sorts of different formats, hardcover, softcover, mass paperbacks.
Yep.
But I love a little bit of everything. So I'm going to kind of cover that. I think that'll be very informational is why I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and the size of your paperbacks and your hardbacks as well, right? So you can have, you can have what's called the trim size. So you can have different trim sizes depending on whether you want to sort of bigger and thinner, or small and fatter, or that definitely comes into it as well. I like to have something that's quite big and not too fat, so it's not. I don't know. To each their own, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Like, there's so many different types. People probably don't even. They're like, oh, there's little ones, and then there's big hardback. No, there's so many more, which is so fun because like I'm a kind of guy that once I grab a book, it just feels right, Yeah. So that'll be fun.
So do you read more physical than digital then, or does it depend?
I would say right now it's 50-50.
Yeah, I'm probably the same. Yeah.
I talk about my wife with the Kindle, because me and her were like, no, we're never going to be a Kindle user. We both use.
I was like that too.
and well, we have a newborn. She's 5-6 weeks old, I think.
Yeah.
And
congrats, by the way.
Thank you so much. It's our first girl. We have 3 toddler boys, and now we have our girl. We're done. But yeah,
you just keep on trying till you got the girl, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she's up quite a few times at night, and she can't hold a book and a baby and feed the baby.
I never thought of that, but yeah.
Me neither, and neither did she. She's like, look, I just can't. I'm so glad I got the Kindle now. So there's many different reasons that you just kind of find out as you live with a Kindle. So they both have their. Maybe I should do a video on that too, like the difference between physical and Kindle.
And you know what? The other thing I'm going into more and more that I didn't used to, audiobooks. Audiobooks are great because you can have them on while you're doing something else. I'm still listening to them, or when you're traveling, or when I'm discovering lots of more stuff through audio, and trying to get my own stuff onto audio as well. It's just crazy expensive, but we want to do that too.
My wife bought me for my birthday today. She bought me because I'm reading "We Are the Dead" by Mike Shackle, and I find it more accessible to listen sometimes. So I got the audiobook today, and so just kind of hitting that point, it's great. So like, if I'm up doing something or even just relaxing, it's nice to listen. Sometimes it just depends on your mood, I guess.
Isn't We Are the Dead great? I love.
I'm loving it.
Mike Shackle, yeah.
It's
So I think he's British, right? I think they're British. There's something about it's like Joe Abercrombie or people like that. It's something about British authors. I suppose I'm part of it, but just a sort of grit
oh,
and this kind of like depressing realism.
this bleak
Like Will of the Dead,
world.
it's not a happy book. It's not a happy book, but it's yeah. I mean his yeah the picture he paints of a sort of an oppressed.
Oh,
City is
talk
just
about oppression,
yeah,
guys.
oh
If you
yeah,
want a
yeah.
book where you're like kind of
Not
empathizing
happy.
the whole time,
Yeah, yeah,
very bleak in the best way. I couldn't read nonstop grimdark stuff like that, but
no,
I'm telling you, it's probably my favorite when it's done really well.
absolutely,
And
yeah, yeah.
he does great. I can't wait to continue it. I'm kind of binging it at the moment.
I think I
And
just read the first two, but they're both yeah they're both of them I've read are great. Yeah,
the way he paints the oppressors, the egress, I think they're
yeah,
called. Man, they're scary people. Look, guys, they
yeah,
wear like skulls.
yeah, like the
The
masks and like
cover,
that. Oh yeah,
dude, it's just
yeah.
it's wonderful. So who's well, let's get to this for what is next for you. So I know Titanica. Anything else going on coming up for you?
Yeah, so yeah, kind of. So what I want to do is once I finish Titanico, so that will then go through. There's basically I'd say 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months in between when I finish the book when it comes out. So Titanico, I'd say will be hopefully mid 2024. The other things I'm in at the moment, doing at the moment, is we're translating my books into French. So obviously they're living in France, there's a French audience. So we've just finished the last of the War of the 12 series,
That's
and then we're going to move
exciting.
on to Panacea. So that takes a bit of time as well.
Oh yeah.
And I'm getting the audiobooks done. So the first, so Broken Heart of Vivarium is out on audio. And I'm working with this narrator called Jay Forrester. He's a great guy, English guy.
Jay Forrester.
Jay Forrester, yeah, and he's not very well known. I shouldn't say his name because other people snap him up. Yeah, really great narrator, and we're working on doing the other three. So the Action Hand Orchestra and Burning Tears and Morlock and Obsidian Eyes of Cleef for early next year as well. So people will be able to listen to the whole thing on that.
I'm so excited. I did not know you had an audiobook for the Broken Heart Aurelium. Oh my goodness, I'm excited.
Yeah. So now you can listen to it,
Yes.
and then I don't think it's a massive. I mean, it might be a slight. Oh, I can say it. The once I've done with all of that. So I brought out an omnibus edition of the War of the 12, which looks like
Oh
this.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is the big. So this is a chonker. So this is the big hefty omnibus edition, right? So this
Is that
has
it?
like
No, that's not it.
so this has like the I don't know if you'll find it, but this has all these like interior. So it has like all the sort of like naked cover art, and then it has all these sort of like interior illustrations of the different
Oh,
characters and stuff, so all that. So
that one there, right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So this is the World of 12 Omnibus. So this has the 4 books, and it also has 2 short stories. So one which is already available called Predora, which you can actually I see the
Yep.
little yeah ticker going down there. So yeah, you can get that for free already, and it has another short story at the very end, which is set about 15 years after the events of the War of the 12. And at the very end of that short story, we learn that there's going to be a new series set in the same universe as the War of the 12. So that will be an upcoming project, and that's going to be called The Legacy of the 12. So
Oh,
that will be
right. Well, I
carrying
love
on.
that.
That'll be carrying on, the sort of that world and some of those characters, the characters that are still around.
There we go.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what's
I
next for me over next year.
What a great answer, man. You've got a lot coming up. I'm very excited for you. I'm happy. I'm happy for me because I get to read a lot. You've got books out. There's lots of books. There's going to be more books. Oh, that's awesome. So let's kind of go in real quick to where people can follow you as far as social links and buy your books.
Yeah, I'm really bad at so you have to remember there's the you have to remember there's a time difference with me. So living in France, I'm actually 6 hours, I'm 6 hours ahead of you, aren't I? 6 or 7 hours
Yep.
ahead of you, which means I'm just terrible. I'm awful at social media because when I'm around, most other people aren't because it's mid-afternoon for most people and it's my evening. But yeah, I try and get on social media. I have a really awful handle. It's Stumbling44. So
Uh,
that's Stumbleine 44.
so
That's you can.
I'll kind of take that off your shoulders. Just if you tell us like the actual social, I'll put all that in there so you don't have to remember your handle
Oh,
and all that.
oh, awesome! Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
So
course,
yeah,
yeah.
so Stumbling 44. I'll send you that. Facebook, you can find me on Facebook. Not really on Instagram and TikTok. Not really my thing. We talked about earlier. I'm an old man. I'm in my 40s. I don't really do that sort of stuff. The website, I see that you put the website up. The website is really worth going to because it has all the illustrations from all the books up on
It's
there. It has a
good.
whole lot of extra lore and stuff on there. It has progress bars, so you can see what I'm up to and how close I'm getting to stuff. The store's on there, and then it has a news sticker on there as well. So if you want to know what I'm up to, you can find me on there too. Yeah.
So you're an IT guy. I'm going to ask you this question. Right now, I want
Yes.
so bad to, I'm on your website and I want so bad to be able to show my viewers as we're live. Is that possible?
I possibly, but not. I'm not sure what sort of streaming thing you're using, so I couldn't say. But if on your streaming thing you can share your screen, then you definitely
Okay.
could. But I'm
I'll,
not very familiar with the stream with a StreamYard. I'm not really sure what StreamYard is. I use, when you use, so I have like the Microsoft equivalent, Microsoft Teams. You can share, or Google Chat. You can share your screen, but I'm not sure if you can
okay.
with that.
I'll have to check
Be
that
honest
out.
with you. But that'd be good, wouldn't it? Because then you could share websites and stuff like that. But yeah,
I'll
yeah,
check that out. Thank you for letting me know. That's what it's called, sharing my screen. All right. So we've got Twitter, Facebook, and the website. Where can we find your books to buy?
yeah. So the digital versions are exclusive to Amazon. Why? Because I'm with Kindle Unlimited. So Kindle Unlimited, if people don't know what it is, it's basically a subscription service that Amazon have, and you pay a monthly fee. It's kind of like Spotify, but for books. So you pay a monthly
Hmm.
fee, and then you get unlimited access to all the books on the service. And I found that has been really beneficial to me. That means a lot of people that because I'm not that well known and because I don't have a lot of money for marketing my books and that sort of thing, having something like that, Kindle Unlimited, it means that people can go on there and find my stuff and try it for free and read it for
I
free
love it.
as part of their subscription. So lots of people are leaving Kindle Unlimited because authors are paid on page count,
Oh, wow. I didn't
pages
know that.
read. Yeah, pages read, and it varies from month to month, and it's actually going down. So Amazon, as they I want to do, are paying authors less and less. Authors that want Kindle Unlimited. So I know lots of people are moving away from it. It represents quite a big part of my income, so I'm still on there, and I will be for the foreseeable future. And then paperbacks, you can find me anywhere, everywhere, and anywhere. If you want to, if you on my website have signed copies, you can also go to Broken Binding, the UK site. They have signed copies there as well. And yeah, first for anywhere, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, And my
That's
audiobook you'll find obviously on Audible, but you'll also find it on Spotify. You can find my listen to my stuff on Spotify. If you have a Spotify subscription, you can find it there. And the idea, I
awesome.
think, for authors like us, like the indie authors like us, the idea is just to get your book out to as many people as possible. Really, so I try and go as wide as I can, definitely.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all that. I was after like the signed editions myself. So the website is where I could find that.
Yeah, I mean,
The broken binding.
yeah, absolutely. And there'll be what I don't know. I probably shouldn't say this, but probably the cheapest way is actually to buy the book plates. So the book plates. So you buy I'll ship the book plates to you. That can then go in the book because that's way cheaper. Again, with postage, if you buy a signed copy and we ship the signed copy, that's way more expensive than just getting the book plate. But yeah, I'll find the book plates on my site, or again through broken binding. So they have signed copies, but they are situated in the UK. So again, yeah, postage.
No, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Who is somebody you would like to see me interview in the future?
I saw that, and I was just quickly on that question, and I haven't looked through everyone you have interviewed so far, so I didn't have time before I
No,
came in.
that's
But I
okay.
saw, but I don't know that there are two people who spring to mind that one who I was just exchanging emails with earlier today, but I think you've beaten me to it, and that's Lauren L.L. McRae, who writes the Iron Crown,
Yep.
Dragon Spirits trilogy, and I was talking, exchanging emails with her. But she says apparently that's something that's maybe going to happen. So,
Yep.
and
We're already
the
hooked up on the schedule. Yep.
there you go. So I don't know how you get. When do you sleep, Matt?
No, right. No, I just
uh,
love it. And when I do it, my wife is very supportive and watches the kids. So I get an
that's
hour
that's
in the
so
day
great.
and at night.
And the other guy I was thinking about was Ben Gelly. I don't know if you've had on
I
or if
reached out
you're.
to him today, man. I love that. Thank you. Yeah,
So
I did.
yeah,
I reached out to him today.
Ben Gary's. So basically, there are people that some of the people I really look up to, the people who've been doing this for a while, because it's feasible to write one book, but it's hard to write two, and it's really quite difficult to write five or six. So you see these people like Ben Gary or Rob Hayes, you had on yesterday. Yeah, you had on
Yep.
yesterday. I mean, these are people that have been in the indie space for. I think Rob was saying. I think it was 2000. Was it 2003? I think his first book came out, and Ben must have been about that's the same sort of time. So these are people that have been around for 10, 15 years in the indie space,
Right.
and are still going strong and stuff. And they're just such a well of of knowledge. And I think for indie authors like us, seeing how they publish their stuff and the sort of stuff they're doing, like Robert's Kickstarter and stuff, I think they must have lots of interesting stories to tell for being
I
around
can't
for so
wait.
long. Yeah,
Well, man, I just really want to thank you for letting me borrow you tonight and getting to talk to you about and
absolutely.
you dropping the title, man. That's so exciting. I can't wait to put that.
Sure.
I'm gonna say, hey, look, you have to watch because the title for the next and third and final book in the trilogy is and the Ruined God trilogy is released here, and
Right.
I'm so
Okay.
excited
Yeah.
you did that. So thank you, and thanks for guys watching, and for those who watch in the future, also thank you. And is there any last things that you want to point out?
Yeah, the one I'm holding up for you, is your birthday present. So yeah,
Really?
so it'll be on its way to you. I'll sign it and I'll
Oh
get
my
it.
gosh, dude!
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll get it in the post to you. So yeah, so this is as I said, this is the illustrated edition. So you'll get all the little drawings and stuff in there, and yeah, you can. You don't have to read
Man.
it. I know you're very busy, but
Oh no,
just something to have on your shelf and to look through. And yeah, that's a thanks for having you on and happy birthday, man. Yeah,
thank you so
I'll get
much.
that.
And yeah,
I'll get
right,
that
like
to
I
you.
won't read it. Yeah, I cannot wait to get it and start reading
It's
it. Thank you
heavy.
so much.
You won't be able
Yes.
to hold it in one hand.
Well, man,
Yeah,
I really
so I'll get
appreciate
that.
you.
I'll get yeah. I will exchange after. You can send me your postal address, and I'll get that sent out to you. Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
yeah,
much. That's so cool.
thanks to what you're doing as well, because as we said earlier, it's really difficult for indie authors to be seen. I mean, the hardest thing for me anyway, and I think most indie authors will agree, you can write the best book in the world. It can be better than Sanderson. It can be better than I don't know whatever's at the top of
No,
the fancy charts at the moment. It can be better than anything, but there's no marketing push behind it. And the number of great novels I've read that go on Goodreads and they've had 12 or 13 ratings. If you look at the Spiffbo this year, the 10 books that are in the finals, some of them only have like 20. Some only have like 20 or 30 ratings on Goodreads, and
we'll get that
that's
up.
just crazy to me. And it's just because we don't have the marketing clout, or we don't have the finances, to be honest, to really get the books out there and get people to read them, and get people to discover who we are and stuff. So people like you that take the time to interview us and reach, you reached out to me, reaching out to indie authors and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of other people that are interviewed by you are also appreciate it, I'm sure.
No, it's really an honor, man. It's one of those things that like I just kind of fell into. I thought I was just going to talk about books, like just doing reviews, and then I fell into just talking with indie authors as fast as I could, just because I just respect what you're doing and it's something I want to do. So it's equally as appreciated to talk with people like you and authors like you as I feel that you guys enjoy getting your stories out. So it's a give and take thing, and I love it. So again, man, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. You baffled me. I made my day. So thanks for you guys that watched. And until next time, because we'll talk again very soon. We'll have you back on. Yeah. Until next time, guys, y'all have a wonderful day, evening, night, morning, wherever you're at. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Matt. Stay safe.
Uh-huh.
See ya.